This week's parsha is Parshat Pikudei, and what the first thing that happens is there's an audit. A lot of people gave a lot of things for the building of the Mishkan, the tabernacle. Now we have an audit to see exactly what was collected, where was it used, how was it used, what is left over for future use, etc. And the Torah is emphasizing something, that when you're in a position of trust of the community or of society, society appoints you in a position of trust, expect an audit. Because, and it's not that we think you're stealing anything. You may have made a mistake. Things, people, there's a lot of stuff being donated to the Mishkan, to the tabernacle. Things can get lost. So we want to make sure that everything is being used as it was intended to be used. There's a midrash that says that Moshe, when he would go and do an accounting of the monies donated, he would sew up the pockets in his pants so that nobody could accuse him of stealing. In other words, he had no place to put anything if he tried to steal it. So he had no pockets. This is an important lesson to us because, as we know, people in places of public trust, they sometimes figure, okay, nobody's really watching me, and maybe, I need something extra. There's a very famous story of a Russian commissar and a Romanian commissar. The Romanian commissar, in the days of communism, went to visit the Russian commissar and saw that he had a very nice mansion. He said, "Comrade, how'd you get such a nice mansion?" He says, "Very simple. See the bridge over there? Every time I ordered stuff for the bridge, I ordered a little bit extra for my mansion." A few years later, the Russian commissar went to visit the Romanian and said, the guy was in a palace, like real palace. He said, "Comrade, how'd you get such a great house?" He said, "You see the bridge over there? What bridge?" In other words, they were basically stealing from the public trust. And it's a very important lesson to us that we have to be very careful, especially if you're in a position of public trust. You have to be open to an audit. In fact, you should demand that there be an audit of your books. Because if somebody says, "Don't audit me," then I'm going to merely audit that person. He's hiding something. And there's a lot of organizations that went bankrupt because they didn't audit, and the treasurer or the people in power realized, "Oh, nobody's checking. Guess what? I'll take a little bit extra. I'll get the palace." And I do know of some organizations that went bankrupt because of that. But that's why the Torah places such an emphasis on Moshe doing an accounting for the things that were donated to the Mishkan, to the tabernacle. Something to think about, Kaddish Rabbanim.